On October 21st, IBJ unveils the 2025 Women of Influence. Join us to celebrate Indy's most inspiring leaders and hear the powerful stories behind their success. Don't miss this moment. Register now at ibj.com/influence 2025.
When what worked stops working, I point purpose-driven leaders to Prolific, the growth firm. They turn plans into results with full-service marketing and strategy, focused on outcomes, not vanity metrics. Head to prolifichq.com to learn more.
But find something that you can give back to, whether it's an organization. You might have a skill set that a small church or a small nonprofit can use, but find something to give to your time and talent, because that level of early involvement of mentorship will pay dividends.
Hi, I'm Dave Neff, host of Talent Scout. On this show, we shine a light on Indiana's next generation of leaders who are making a difference in business, community, and civic life. These are real conversations about purpose, mentorship, and building a future that matters. Join me as we invest in leadership that lasts. Welcome to the Talent Scout podcast. Excited to have my good friend, Fred Yeakey, here. Fred, you and I have known each other, I think, 6 years, give or take, since 2019.
Yeah.
Pre-COVID, which feels like
pre-COVID feels like a life, man. We met before the world stopped, man.
But I remember opening the IBJ one day and reading about the barbershop that you did at school. At this time, it was Providence, Cristo, but you had started it, I believe, earlier. Maybe for our listeners who are not familiar with you or the barbershop, give them a little bit of background on how that came to be, and then I want to get into some of your story.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's an honor to be here with you, man. A little bit about myself that kind of led to the barbershop. I think it all connects. Happy to be from the great city of Indianapolis, Indiana. Grew up on the east side. I went to, I'm a proud alum of Arlington High School. And at the time when I went there, I came out in 2001. Arlington High School was a great community where we had a lot of clubs. My father was a part of the nationally recognized security dads, where we had fathers volunteering at the school. And I just grew up with a lot of community, and that kind of helped to promote my educational sense of my philosophy of education. Went off to Kentucky State University on a marching band scholarship. I know I look like an athlete, man, but I was in a band, okay, and I'm a proud trumpet player. Grew up with music in the house. My dad was in an Army band. My sister sings opera. My older brother plays the horn. I have another brother who plays the saxophone. So growing up in church, music was just another way of thinking. That was a vehicle for me to go to college. And in college, I needed money, and that's how I got into cutting hair.
Wow.
I convinced a roommate that I could cut hair because I couldn't cut hair, but I knew how to talk like a barber, look like a barber. And he let me practice on him after taking 1,000 hairlines back and doing that. Over time, I became the college campus barber. So fast forward to when I got into education, I was standing up in front of my students, ironically, right back at Arlington High School. I was teaching the organization called JAG. The acronym stands for Jobs for America Graduate, which is like a curriculum or an accelerated course for college and career. And I couldn't connect with them. So I went to the principal and said, hey, I have an idea. At the time, Arlington was nothing like it was when I was there. There were no clubs of people who were athletes. And I said, I want to start something for the boys, called a barbershop. He was like, please. And me and my students came up with the curriculum out of necessity. And after school, I started to cut hair, and I can't lie to you, Dave, man, I didn't think it would turn to this. I was just doing something just to get them involved. And I didn't know that they, in conjunction with me, will create something that was a vehicle that would take me all around the country on the front page of IBJ. And, you know, I took so much just from having conversations and cutting hair and bringing guest speakers and the connectivity. And all of my young men who came to my program, their grades increased, which was non-academic things. But what I didn't know then that I know now is that relationships and mentorships is the way that we got there. So that's kind of my journey, how I got here and how we met.
Yeah, well, I'm grateful. I remember picking up that IBJ, reading about you, and as someone who grew up in Indy, and you grew up in Indy, our paths hadn't crossed yet for some odd reason. And I think I just reached out cold on LinkedIn, right?
You did.
And not thinking you'd even respond. And you came right back. At that time, I was running Edge Mentoring. We had a leadership conference, and you brought a couple students out from Providence, Cristo Rey, and
Yeah,
now we're sitting here together 6 years later. So that's really special.
it is, man.
So you currently, Fred, serve as Chief Partnership Officer at Providence, Cristo Rey.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to touch a little bit on your education background because I know you're doing some other things now, but I believe you've worked in a public school setting, a charter school setting, and a private school setting. Is that right?
I've had the best of all three worlds, or the worst, depending on how you look at it.
So maybe go into that background from your early career and just kind of what you've learned in each of those settings in our community here in Central Indiana.
Yeah, absolutely. So my path to education was a little unorthodox. I started in youth development by running after-school programs through an organization sponsored through St. Vincent Hospital off of 33rd and Park. What is now Oaks Academy?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I was running all of those programs.
And Park.
2006, 2007, picking up kids from Charity Dye School Elementary in 27, partnering with the 100 Black Men of Indianapolis, creating a cool experience for a summer academy program for enrichment, K through 8th grade. And my educational journey kind of started when I would go and pick up the students. I was like, man, there aren't really any educators that I felt like they were really reaching them. And there were none that looked like myself as a Black male. And I've always taken the approach, Dave, that why sit on the sideline and complain? I can thrust myself into doing it. So I had the bright idea to say, I'm going to go back to school to be an educator. Went through a program called Indianapolis Teaching Fellows at Marion University, got a couple of degrees, and they threw me at Arlington High School, where I was kind of there working at JAG. Then I helped to start a couple of charter schools called the Excel Center through Goodwill.
Yep.
So I went from mentoring young kids to teaching high schoolers. Now I'm dealing with adults. And that was just eye-opening because I was dealing with adults that had left their academic journey as kids. And for adults to come back to revisit where they left off at because life has taught them that they skipped some steps, it was really humbling. So I had a chance to use education as a way of service and not just a way of academics. And that was the breeding ground, man. And from there, went to a high school called Indianapolis Metropolitan High School, which is also another Goodwill school, charter school.
Yeah.
And there I became the dean of students. And that was my first time using the barbershop as an alternative to suspension. So instead of students being suspended, you have to come to this club where we wanted to focus on not sending you to that environment that got you, into those bad habits, but work on grooming the inner man so we can guide the outer. And it was extremely successful. And while there, I got a call about a private school. Now, Dave, I'll be honest with you. I felt like the private schools, growing up in Indianapolis.
Yeah.
You're a private school guy.
I was.
Okay.
College, I was not, but
there you
growing
go.
up, I was private school.
And me, I just had a perception that private school was for the elite. You had to have the money. You had to have the means of transportation. And coming from where I was at in the urban city, urban setting, if you weren't like an extreme athlete, I thought of Cathedral just recruiting those guys. So when I heard about Providence Cristo Rey, I said, man, I can't go and sell out. I'm really called to these kids until I went there. And Cristo Rey just blew my mind. It changed my philosophy of education. These were inner city kids coming from all over the city, transportation, and they have jobs. So we can work on grooming them, and the barbershop work fit perfectly. So, man, at Cristo Rey, I have so many positions. I'm extremely fortunate because it really gave me a chance to have a platform from dean of students to intern president to many things in between.
Well, I'm grateful that you got me involved. Full disclosure, I now serve as board chair at Providence Cristo Rey.
I seen it when I met you. I told you that, man.
Because of you in 2020 pulling me in onto that corporate work study board. And it is a special place. Maybe just for our listeners who don't know, as a private school, what is unique about the model, the corporate work study program? Give our listeners a sense of size of school, that sort of thing.
Yeah, absolutely. Cristo Rey is a national model private school that focuses solely on educating urban youth who are often at a disadvantage. That mission alone is unique because if you can afford the $26,000 tuition at Cristo Rey, we do not accept you. So there's an income requirement, but it focuses on faith, college readiness, and formation in the intersection of how mentorship helps with corporate America. So it brings in the pulse of a city to really help to educate the youth coming up. So Cristo Rey is a great model, 9th through 12th grade. We're the only one in Indiana. And in Indianapolis, our school averages, we're probably at the largest tuition we've ever been at now. Enrollment rather. We have about 325, maybe 330 students that we have scheduled to come in. So in order to come there, in order to make it affordable for the families, they have to work a job one day a week.
Yeah.
That helps to pay off their tuition.
Yeah.
And we have students working from some of the largest companies in the city, such as Eli Lilly, IU Health. And we have many small offices like small law firms, all gambit, where these corporate partners are coming together because they want to be a part of this solution. So it's a wonderful model. And I'm proud to say that we have been very successful with getting kids from various zip codes that otherwise probably wouldn't have the best options or the opportunity if they were to go to larger schools, and they've been very successful. Last year, we sent our first student to Harvard University. Incredible. Multiple students in Notre Dame. We sent a young man that we know, Javion, who was mentored by Dr. Rob Shoemaker, Indianapolis Zoo. He's at Providence, Rhode Island, studying
Big East.
And he's studying how he can be in the field of being conservation, looking at how this is an inner city kid being exposed to the zoo. I mean, this is what I believe our community needs more of.
Yeah. It's a great example of economic mobility, right? Where the zip code you're born into doesn't necessarily need to be the one that you die in,
Absolutely.
right? And I think what I love about the model of Providence Cristo Rey is while most of these kids do come from, really all of them come from low socioeconomic backgrounds, that's not their destiny, right? No. And I think by getting them exposure from the ages of 14 to 18 in these oftentimes white-collar work environments, they're just not exposed to that, right?
Absolutely.
And so IU Health, Shield Sexton, Eli Lilly and Company, the Indianapolis Zoo, Merchants Capital, so many great corporate employers here that are taking these kids in and are part of the program. So,
and if I could say this, Dave, I don't think we have enough corporate partners. I think we need more people that can come here to our mission and be a part of the solution, whether it's 2 or 3 jobs. I mean, there's a lot of big names that we don't have yet, and I don't want to use this platform to get it. But I do want to say that I do think there is a corporate responsibility that we have to serve the next generation, as well as to give other people an opportunity to find their foot.
Yeah. Well, and we talk about workforce development and creating pipelines to retain talent. And there's some great, the school's been around since 2007. Now there's students who went to PCR, went to college. They're back working for the employer that they worked for in high school. So we could talk about PCR the whole podcast. I know we've got other things that we want to hit on. Fred, part of the Talent Scout podcast sort of purpose is we want to inspire young people out there in their 20s, in their 30s that are getting going in their career with the stories of leaders like you, right? And where you've been. And so one question I have for you is, I found that all folks who have achieved some semblance of success live a life of discipline. And so I'd love for you to maybe share what are a few key disciplines in your life that you can't live without. I mean, you're married, you got 4 kids, busy man, a lot going on. So maybe share with our audience just some disciplines in your personal life that really keep you grounded and successful.
I mean, that's a wonderful question. And I think sometimes when you look at success, we don't talk about the other side of that, which is discipline. And for me, discipline is defined by what I can do, but I choose not to do it because I have a bigger goal. It's that self-restraint that I impose on myself because I understand what I need to do for those that I can benefit later. And as I think about that question, Dave, the one discipline that I hold myself to is my Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. Church, not just attending the building, but church as it lives within my heart and the discipline and the principles that I've learned through the blessings of my mother and father as a child has and will continue to be my guiding light. That discipline has kept me and reminds me of a bigger calling and a purpose in which I'm called to give to. And how that shows up in my discipline or in my everyday life is the days that I refuse to work because I want to honor God and put God first. So every Tuesday night I have Bible study, and I try my best to keep that sacred. Every Friday night we have church. And now where our church is located is in a neighborhood that really needs the light to shine.
34th in Illinois.
3450 North Illinois, Jesus House of Prayer Temple. My mother's the pastor, apostolic. And then Sunday is a day that I honor where I rest. It's the Sabbath. I don't work on Sundays. I leave that for my family, and I leave that for time for rest. Those 3 points help to keep me rooted and grounded because I've learned, and this is really something that other emerging leaders need to do, is that you will be well more respected by your peers and people that you may look up to when you have certain non-negotiables that you won't do. If you would do anything, there was a level of, I'm not going to say disrespect, but there's a level of people like, you don't really have any values.
Yeah.
When people honor and they know that you have some things that you just won't negotiate from, that gives you the fortitude, the discipline, and the foundation so you can build with a compass in mind.
And that's beautiful. I remember hearing early in my career, someone said, if you have a strong set of values or principles by which you live by, then you will have very few decisions to make in life. You know, you think about that filter of how you kind of, whether it's job opportunities or friends that you make, relationships, who you marry, all those sorts of things. So
I agree.
That's beautiful. Bible study, church, Sabbath. I mean, 3 things that keep us grounded, keep us centered on what really matters.
It keeps me centered, and it's a great way that every time I'm there, I'm with my family. You know, you got to have those reminders that you do with your kids, because if that's important to me, I want to make sure that can be passed down. That legacy, right, that was passed down from my parents that's kept me out. I want to pass that same legacy to my kids.
You know, Fred, I heard somebody share with me recently, character is your destiny. And I think those of us that are fortunate to know you know what a high character, high integrity, bright light, you know, you are in our community. And so I'm proud to know that everything you just shared, I know it to be true and authentic, because that's you're the same person every room you walk into. And so that's really a testament to just the values by which you live by. I've got so much I want to get into here, man. I want to know, for our listeners who don't know you, I'd love for you to share, what is something you've done in your 20s or 30s that was a career accelerator for you, that sort of took you from here to here, whether it was, a development program you went through, a mentoring relationship, a side project outside of work. What's something that sort of really kind of served to be a catalyst for your career?
That's a good question, man. What helped me to be where I'm at today in my 20s and 30s? It feels like 20s and 30s was yesterday, man. Can't believe I'm 42. I would say this, Dave. It would have to be the time that I spent doing and running the wonderful program called Summer Academy. That was probably at the time I was 23, 24, managing people twice my age, running a significant program that was well respected around the country. I had a lot of enthusiasm. I had a level of professionalism, but man, I was green because you don't know what you don't know. But I would say the characteristic that has served me well and is serving me well now is I was not afraid to do it without me having any experience. Me running fast with limited directions gave me the opportunity to explore what being lost is and encouraged me to ask questions so I can be found. Those questions that I asked were from people who I thought they knew where they were going, but in turn, that proximity of humility brought mentorship into my life because others saw themselves in a younger, or in me that was once in a younger them. And I think sometimes we don't value the opportunity of just going without direction sometimes. Like, we don't have to plan everything out the same way because success is never linear. It's going to be up and down and around the corner. But those failures, those opportunities to get lost around the way was perhaps one of the greatest blessings in my life, because it built up the fortitude, the trust that I have in myself, to say, hey, I've done this before, so I can do this. That confidence can be contagious. Then it also brings people in your life for certain areas and certain seasons that you developed a level of autonomy and trust. Steve Covey has a great saying that I often say. He said, every relationship moves at the speed of trust. And I think sometimes we want to put relationship before trust. And you can't get trust until there's a level of being vulnerable. Until there's a level of like, man, I really messed up. I need some help. And one example I had was when I was leading these great minds, and man, they were running all over me. I was trying to be cordial, trying to be nice. And someone said to me, he said, management and people, it's like a fist. If you open up too soon, it's hard to grab back. But if you release slowly with authenticity, it's easier to control, and you learn along the way. He didn't have to tell me that. He was 60-some years old, pulled me to the side, and how he talked to me wasn't belittled. He just brought me in, and I never forgot that. And I want to make other people feel that way when I see, how they are maybe going through. Maybe I can offer suggestions. It builds community, it builds relationship. And I think that is what is kind of keeping me going today.
That's a great metaphor. Thanks for joining us here on Talent Scout. We're going to take a quick break to hear from our sponsor, so stay tuned. Most organizations hit a point where growth stalls. The message blends in, the site stops converting, pipeline softens. That's when I tell leaders about Prolific, the growth firm for purpose-driven leaders. Through full-service marketing and strategy, they clarify the story, rebuild your go-to-market, and drive sales. Most importantly, Prolific holds itself accountable to the metrics that matter to you. If you're ready for your next growth stage, learn more about Prolific at prolifichq.com. Something we haven't touched on yet, we've talked about your background in education, but going along those lines of trying things or taking on responsibility that you've never had before, and just trusting that people will come around and support you. Just a couple years ago, you got into real estate development.
I did, man.
238 properties.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about, at 40 or late 30s, how that came about, and what you have in the works right now, and why you felt compelled to get into real estate development after spending so much of your career in education.
Yeah. For some, that was like, bro, what are you doing? It's crazy. Others are like, and that's interesting. How does that connect, right? I was at the point at my journey in education that I felt like there were so many things that I wanted to help impact and to help those that I'm called to serve with. And, housing is always an ongoing issue. And I felt that when you trace back a lot of things in education and some places life, it deals with what is like rooted and grounded in. So this thought was in the back of my mind. Me and my wife, we bought a house and I leased it out. I was renting it out to a family who was coming from a trailer park. Me and my wife said, let's do it in a way where we want to make them homeowners. And we kept the rent at a place that was really acceptable. We didn't follow the market trends to make a lot of money. And I held that in there until he got his credit right. And we were a part of making that family a homeowner. And the amount of joy that made me feel, just know that home ownership was a big step for them.
Yeah.
I said, man, what if I can impact this even more? So I went through a program called Stanley K. Lacey, and it's a wonderful executive leadership program that I will employ others who are listening. If you're under 45, that I would tell you to do it, because it's all about civic engagement, and it's about giving and how we can make Central Indiana
and probably the longest running. I believe it's coming up on 50 years. So
yeah, man, I did research. It's the longest running in the nation.
Wow.
And there's other cities that have modeled this type of executive leadership. But in there, we talked about all the issues from housing, from law enforcement to education, from where their city needs to go, who helped build it and structure it. And I felt housing was a common thread. So that kind of ignited something in me. And I really started to kind of pray, do some meditation. And it was from there I felt like the Lord was directing me to go down that path. So started that company. with the grade fortitude that I picked up when I was running after school program. I was running fast, felt like I could do it. And along the way, people coming together to help me out and formulated the company and got involved with Volunteers of America, as well as the nonprofit locally called Seeds of Hope, where they wanted to go after a tax credit, unique set aside to work with women who may have been addicted, but want to have the opportunity to heal with their children without giving them up.
Yeah.
And they wanted to come together to build affordable, resourceful living where on the site there'll be a free health clinic as well as an early learning center. And they needed a developer. And apparently I talked enough about what I felt like I'm called to do where people started to recognize me and I came highly recommended. And here's the key. Someone told them that I was a good developer and I've never developed before. I was like, okay, that's a lot of pressure, but it was a great experience. And now we're Labor Day weekend, we're closing and we're having a great ribbon cutting because in Wayne Township now there's a new place in the city of Indianapolis where women and family can heal together.
And what's the name of that?
Marvetta and Anthony Grimes Family Center.
Amazing. Labor Day weekend, grand opening.
Yeah, man.
How many women will that place be able to support?
Yeah, that's a great one. So we have 36 multi-family rooms.
Okay.
So those will all be filled, as well as wraparound services. We have a free health clinic called Seeds of Change, which will have a pediatrician, a dentist, as well as regular doctors. And St. Mary's Early Learning Center is going to be operating there. And they're going to be operating from early infancy all the way to 4 years old. And they are one of the best in the city because they really focus on literacy and really focus that these kids come out straight. So it's awesome. I'm working on some other opportunities. I think the bug has bit me. But it's interesting because I want to do development with all of my experiences and social services in mind. And I think that makes a difference if you bring in others and have a hand open to really make a difference. I think you can impact others.
It's beautiful. I want to talk to you a little bit. We touched on the Male Mentoring Barbershop Initiative, but more recently you started a podcast. Is that right? And talk to us just about that platform. I know there's a space in the basement of Providence, Cristo Ray. That the 811 Foundation.
Shout out to 811.
Gave a grant to invest in. If you haven't seen it, it's who thought there'd be a barbershop in the basement of a school, but it's a bona fide barbershop. So maybe talk to us a little bit about, in addition to your role at PCR and 238 Properties, the platform you've created with the Male Mentoring Barbershop Initiative and where you envision that going.
Yeah, absolutely. So through the generosity of a corporate partner called 811, they saw me cutting hair mentoring, kind of how you did, but they see me actually doing it in the school. Unbeknownst to me, they took this back to their whole corporation. And for Martin Luther King Day, they did a segment. And they said, if we can do something like this from the seat that we serve in, I think we can really make a difference. And they created this fund where it says, he's cutting in the closet right now, but we want to make this a real barbershop. So they came and did this total facelift of a room. I mean, if you can ever think of a school in the classroom, a classroom inside of a school being like this supernatural place, it's great. All the walls have been wrapped around with things. And when I got this space, I was like, wow, this is such a cool space that not only should it be about cutting hair and having conversations, but what if we can make this a place for community? I would love to get community leaders to talk about one thing that I don't think enough is talked about. And Dave, you're really great at this with you running Edge Mentoring and kind of talking about things. I wanted this to be a place for a podcast to talk about all things mentorship. And I thought it'd be great to digitally record some of these leaders on who in their lives helped to shape them to be who they were. Some of my students join me. We do interviews. And then I bring in other people to tell some of the stories that you would never know about. And, right now we're on platforms, just YouTube, taking the grassroots approach because I feel like that's where I'm most authentic at. But it's been a lot of people and a lot of coverage because I think mentorship creates and talking about who you were before you had a title, it creates a level playing field. And it puts the people who sometimes can be on a pedestal to be looked upon and like, hey, I'm you, right? And it creates this false narrative of these cement walls that are really paper that you can cut through and you can kind of see that path. So the Barbershop Male Mentoring Initiative podcast is not just for all guys. I've had women come on there too. And it's about a way that we can share our success stories by giving flowers to others who may not ever make it their due.
Wow. And you've got, 2 seasons released?
Yeah.
Okay.
So this is season 2. I have one more episode to release.
Okay.
I'm trying to hold it for the right time. But this is season 2. It's been fun. It's been a learning experience. I mean, it's not as polished as this right here. But I do appreciate just like this new space we're in. And again, this is just something that why can't I do it?
Yeah.
I just jumped in cold turkey. And I think there's never a shortage of doing good.
As we land the plane here, a couple more questions for you, Fred. On the Male Mentoring Initiative Barbershop podcast, you talk a lot about mentorship.
Yeah.
I'd love to know who was a mentor, non-family, if you can, that really believed in you and changed your paradigm for what's possible in your career, your life.
A non-family, that's a good one, and change my paradigm, change my shift. I would have to say 2 people, or 3. My first mentor, I'm gonna get real vulnerable here, Dave. This is gonna be hot, okay? I'm gonna give you some good stuff. I guess what helped shape me early on, I had a 2nd grade teacher. His name was Mr. Williams. He was from New York, by far the toughest educator I ever had. Now, this was my 2nd time taking 2nd grade. I started school very early, and I was always the baby in the classroom. My parents opted to hold me back so I can have a little bit more maturity with that I would have. So I went from the youngest to almost the oldest in the classroom. And when I had 2nd grade again, I had this mentality, like, I know this, I'm going to do it. But Mr. Williams would not let me cut corners. I'll never forget, he said, if you don't do your homework when you first get home, I'll know. And when you don't do it, you're going to write sentences because it's important for you to always take care of things important first. Now, it's hot outside, Dave. No way he can know this. So I'll do my homework late at night. And he'll say, I need to see the following people instead of going to recess. He called me out. I said, how did he know that?
Wow.
And Mr. Williams taught me something I never forgot. If it's important, you pay attention to it. And that traveled with me. My academic rigor increased, and he allowed me to set goals.
Wow.
And
2nd grade teacher.
2nd grade teacher, Mr. Williams.
Yeah.
He was so impactful that I wrote him a thank you letter.
Did you really?
When I was in 5th grade. And I never forgot Mr. Williams. The 2nd person, his name is Dr. Lucian Yates. He taught me how to tie bow ties. You know, I like bow ties. And he was an educator from a little bitty town in Kentucky. And he just took interest in me in college. I would go visit him. He'll take me out to eat and talk. He would just pour into me. And he would say little things like, what do you want to be when you get done? I'll throw out things, have money. He was like, you want to be that? I was like, yeah. He said, why? And then he'll tell me a story. And every story he would lead me slowly but surely of why education is probably something I might want to consider. And he taught me something about education. He said, what do you think education is? I said, oh, when you sit down and you teach, he said, that's not what it means. You know, the etymology of education comes from a Latin word, and it means to erect or to pull out of. So educators are not somebody that regurgitate. Educators are say, I see more in you, but my job is to give you the tools to pull it out yourself. I said, I'm going to be an educator.
Wow. And
the 3rd person is a person early in my career. His name was Oscar. Oscar saw me struggling in my first management position. And he was a senior exec that retired and would have me over his house and just mentor me and talk me through emails and how we can do things. And I asked him, why are you doing this? He said, because it's important for me to give back because you're going to do great things in life.
Wow.
Those 3 people, when I think about it, Dave, have given me a part of themselves that to this day helps to carry me and keep me stable. And it also gives me a responsibility that I have to do to others that they done to me.
Wow. That's great. It's 3 different mentors at different seasons of your life.
I guess, I didn't even think about that. Yeah. Different seasons, yeah.
Well, couple more thoughts here before we wrap. I know you serve on the board of the Orr Fellowship.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe talk to us just about your involvement in the community. I mean, you're already doing a lot through your platforms at PCR and 238 Properties and Male Mentoring Initiative. But boards you serve on, nonprofits you're engaged with. I think, Indianapolis has such a rich history of civic engagement, and we need our generation to be involved, right? Not just go to work and solve for lifestyle value. Or
I agree.
We gotta give of our time to serve on school boards and get engaged, and whether it's youth, whether it's hunger, whether it's other initiatives. So maybe talk to us about a little bit of your community involvement in the boards you're engaged with.
Yeah, absolutely. Community involvement is something that I really feel strongly in. So much so that my wife and I often talk about that. How can we involve community with our family? So a few of the activities or the boards that I happily serve on, as you mentioned, is the Orr Fellows. Orr Fellowship is about keeping young talent in our region that are currently in college.
Yeah.
I was asked to be a part of that because it was very similar alignment to Cristo. And I love it. I love talking to young people and recruiting diverse, young, generational talent to convince them that why Indianapolis is a place that you want to go to, right? Come to work and give your talents. So Orr Fellowship is one. YMCA of Central Indiana is also the other board I recently joined. YMCA has a special place in my heart, man. Me and my dad would go to the Randsburg Y on the east side. Back in the day when I was, when we used to do fadeaways and shout Kobe, you know what I mean? But to be a part of the YMCA checks off a couple of buckets. Community spaces that I think are less and less prevalent. I'm looking at the downtown crime with our youth, and now we incorporating a curfew. That really bothers me because we got to have more YMCA, Boys and Girls Club, places where these youth can gather that are safe, that also can be governed. YMCA is one of the last few places that are there. And I want to make sure I can be a part of what YMCA needs to be moving forward. Secondly, YMCA helps me out because it helps to bring in those Christian values that you can also live out. And I think that it does. I'm also part of a board that's right here on the circle. There's a foundation board that I'm volunteering that I'm going to be rolling out pretty soon, but it's called Cristo Cathedral.
Yeah.
Everyone knows that at the circle, they always have their cool little Christmas monument out there. But
Strawberry Festival.
Strawberry
right?
Festival.
Every summer. Yeah.
I mean, they do so much that I just wasn't aware of.
And that church is a rich history. I think 150 plus years in the city, right?
Yeah. And they're at that location, which is pretty cool and remarkable. Their mission is all about service, man. And I'm learning how they have really structured their church financially to be community focused. So it's an honor to serve on that board and to do some work there. But those are the 3 primary focuses that I'm doing right now. I had to minimize that to 3 because I have a family of 4. I'm also involved in church.
Yeah.
So I have to limit those. I wrote off a couple of boards that were really great too. One was cancer research called Heroes Foundation. That was really great. And it was an educational board called Kappa Delta Pi. But those are the 3 things that I do in. But I also volunteer wherever I can.
Yeah.
To kind of support others along the way.
Well, you're a high capacity guy, and it's a great example for other young people to say when asked or tapped and called upon to serve, lean into that because you never know. I know you feel this way. I certainly feel this way, but you can grow your network as much through your volunteer activities as you can through your day job. And that's where opportunities come from, right? In our careers. Might land the plane on this one, man, but what's your best piece of advice for someone out there listening in their 20s or 30s? Something actionable.
I like how you gave that actionable. That's good, Dave. I think there's 3 things. I was fortunate to be the IBJ speaker once for 30 under 30. And I might say a few things that I said there, but I think they still ring true today.
20 in their 20s?
20 in their 20s.
That's right.
Not 30
all these awards, it's hard to keep
I know,
straight.
it's hard to keep up with these numbers. Jeez, the older I get, they all look the same. I think there's 3 things that are simple, that are actionable. Number 1, if you have something of value that it costs you something, it becomes more valuable when you give that away for free to others who cannot afford it. I think why that is valuable, because then you create a level of currency called relationship.
Mm-hmm.
And so oftentimes relationships are becoming more transactional than they are relational. And I think relational equity is something that we need to share more of, because you'll find out that is what lasts the longest. Second thing I would say is, as you mentioned before, get involved with a lot of things that you are passionate about or you want to know more about.
Yeah.
Service is what has built our city off of. When I think of service, and I think of people who have been impactful in our community. One recently, Jim Morris.
Mm-hmm.
Jim Morris was one about service. He made sure his fingerprints was on things. But interesting, he never did it for his name.
Yeah.
His name just happened to be there because others benefited from it.
Amazing humility. Yeah.
Amazing. I think of people who have now also gone. Bill Mays, he's been gone for over 10 plus years, but it's interesting how his name continues to ring.
Mm-hmm.
We have living legends like Sam Odell,
Mm-hmm.
Don Palmer, Greg Enos.
Yeah.
When you serve and you do it without ego, you do it out of curiosity, of wanting to learn more.
Yeah.
I think that you only benefit yourself, and the community can learn from you. And last but certainly not least, find others that are younger than you, that you can find a way to help them.
Yeah.
I think sometimes we think we had to be at a certain place to mentor. If you're in your 20s, I encourage you to find organizations where you can mentor at the elementary school level, middle school level, high school level. If it's college, but find something that you can give back to, whether it's an organization. You might have a skill set that a small church or a small nonprofit can use, but find something to give to your time and talents, because that level of early involvement of mentorship will pay dividends.
That's a great word. And Fred, I as we wrap here, thank you for being a guest on the Talent Scout.
Man.
You are just somebody that I think everyone who knows you and will get to know you through this, you've got such a bright future. Excited to see, how you'll be used for the benefit of our community, your gifts, your talents, your character. Maybe we can get a mayor or governor Yeakey down the road. I'm just going to go ahead. I'm going to put that out there. But no, I'm blessed to call you a friend, and thank you for making time to join us.
Listen, I'm excited about the Talent Scout, man. I don't think they could have selected a better doer in our community. From the egg breakfast to the barbershop, Dave Neff, I like to call you the branch. And where would this city be without individuals like you? Thank you. And I'm excited about the Talent Scout, man.
Yeah. Great. Thanks for being here.
No doubt.
Yeah.
What happens when a basketball superstar changes the course of an entire city? I'm Mickey Shuey, and in Beyond Clarkonomics, we tell the story of how Caitlin Clark's arrival to the Indiana Fever sparked more than just sold-out arenas. It's rewriting Indianapolis's long-term strategy for sports, downtown growth, and women's leadership. Listen at ibjpodcast.com or on your favorite podcast app.
The IBJ Media Podcast Network is the soundtrack of a growing state. Indiana is on the move, and you can hear it happening on the IBJ Media Podcast Network. We bring you the voices at the center of our economy, our courts, our companies, and our communities. Subscribe now and be part of the conversation that's building Indiana's future. Find all of our shows by searching IBJ Media in your podcast app or visit ibjpodcasts.com.